Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this one, again, a beautiful October morning. My name is Michelle Kreutzer. I'm the Executive Director with the Pittsburgh Airport Area Chamber. With me today is also Susan Hovanek, who's our Member Engagement Specialist, and she'll be assisting with today's program, and you'll hear from her a little later. Again, I want to thank you for joining us for today's Tips from the Expert Business Solutions series. This morning's program is brought to us by Pittsburgh Networks. As we all know, the pandemic has caused some businesses to be cautious, conservative, and even apprehensive about using their advertising dollars. Today, we have with us from 321 Blink, owner Tim McLaughlin and senior creative strategist Chad Gutermuth, sharing tips on marketing your company in the COVID-19 era. There are two things you know about Tim. First, he speaks in metaphors and is a diehard Pitt fan and wants everyone to know it. I want everyone to know when Susan showed me this morning, I was very excited because I'm also that diehard Pitt fan. So Tim, nice to know a fellow diehard Pitt fan. Anyway, he's that guy with the Pitt screensaver, phone cover, and bumper sticker. He's also the president and founder of We Don't Know How to Do That, but We'll Figure It Out. Tim has had many years of experience in media and has produced award-winning video, including being the recipient of both Silver Telly and CAB Long Form Video Awards. Tim is a past president of Media Association of Pittsburgh and Fox Chapel District Association and is currently on the Aspinwall Borough Council. Additionally, he is an advocate for and rescuer of pit bulls. Chad, for over 20 years in the advertising industry, has worked for various agencies serving the nation's largest metropolitan areas. He is an alumnus of West Virginia University and holds a master's degree in public relations and graphic design. And I also hear he's an avid Pittsburgh sports fan, Steelers, Pirates, Penguins, all the great ones. So anyway, Chad leads the creative teams at 321 Blink in developing strategic, award-winning promotional campaigns. I am thrilled to have both of you here. So I'm going to turn it, Tim and Chad, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for the intro. Yes, and Michelle, it's being a Pitt fan, it keeps the heart pumping, it keeps the nerves where they're
Sometimes,
at.
isn't it?
They sure do. They said if extra points were 45 or more yards, we'd be a different person right now.
I agree.
For God's sake. So anyhow, okay, well, thanks. So we're gonna go over. We have about, I don't know, Chad, was it 25, 30 slides? We're gonna try to get through that in about 20 minutes. It'll be available for everybody who is attending and those that straggle in. But we really do want to get to, a Q&A portion of this and ask, any pointed questions that people are facing right now. When we were talking to Susan earlier, we will be using the chat. Chad and I are going to go back and forth, so we'll be trying to monitor it, and I think the team from the chamber will be monitoring it as well. So if there's things as we're going along and you ask a question, we'll do our best to answer those along the way. So Chad, if you want to share the screen with the presentation, and we'll get started. So, this is, you hear the terms unprecedented and, monumental and everything how do we deal with this? And the answer is nobody knows. So this is definitely, the proverbial jump off the cliff and build the wings on the way down. But, we're very fortunate and blessed at 321 Blink that, we've had clients that on both sides of the spectrum that have been, severely affected by the pandemic and the shutdown, and others that have, this has proved okay for them. And so we have, we've had the pleasure, if it is a pleasure, to work through both the good and bad of what we're seeing right now. So for our agenda, we're going to talk about some media consumption of different genres, the message and tone. Chad will get deep into that. Are your digital channels ready Safety protocols, when we say why on location, one thing at 321 Blink, we have our own video production company as well. So we do a lot of video production and messaging, whether it be for broadcast or for digital. And, not to be a Debbie Downer, but preparing for another shutdown. And that doesn't mean, we have any insider information, but there are things now that we have learned. Had we had known something like this was going to happen, that we would have done while we could do it. So some of the things that we're going to make those recommendations and mentions. On the next slide, Chad, can you do that or I'm doing it? There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about media consumption during the pandemic. You'll see a myriad of percentages of what has happened. I don't think any of this will surprise anybody, but we'll go through them. Media consumption overall is up 87%. Because what the heck else do we have to do? So as things have lightened up and opened up, yes, we're starting to see, and people have had, the ability to go outdoors and do things, whether they be walk or, play in the park when those things open back up. But even more now than ever, they're consuming media, whether it be just a break from the daily, case update and daily death total. And we're in the middle of obviously a heated national election. So there's a lot of consumption that's going on, but people are also, you'll see, whether they be podcasts, whether they be streaming video, whether it be connected TV, there's a lot of consumption. If you would have told me that a really poor documentary of a guy raising tigers in Oklahoma and Florida would have swept our country, by whatever you want to call it, I would have said, no, that's not the kind of consumption people want. Well, they do, and they do during a pandemic, because there wasn't anything early pandemic that to watch. And that's Tiger King for those of you that maybe haven't jumped on the train yet. So we're going to cover a couple of generations. So our Gen Zers, and now these are increases of what we have found during the pandemic. These stats are about a month old, so that if anything, they've increased. On no shock here, online video streaming, video games. People a lot of times ask, how is video game media? There's definitely ways to promote and advertise in the video game genre. Music streaming. And then here's one that might shock everybody: broadcast TV for the Gen Zers. Again, this is, if anything proves, any stat proves that we will watch anything during this period of time. The fact that 16 to 23-year-olds are engaging in watching broadcast TV says it all.
I believe that stat is focused on their local news too. A lot of it is the broadcast affiliates for their local news. So they were very heavily involved in watching what was going on in the country during the pandemic, what their local leaders were doing during the pandemic, and how they could maneuver in their neighborhoods as well.
Yeah, the very woke generation, as you probably have heard if you have kids in that arena. Millennials, again, not a lot of surprise here. Online streaming, you'll see some things, like you see gaming, not in this one, and you'll see as we go up to the others, but online streaming, online press, which was kind of interesting, because I don't know if it's in any of the other ones, but music streaming, and again, broadcast as a higher percentage of consumption.
And these are the top 5 for each of these generations too. So some of these numbers whittle down as we go through generations.
Yep. Going to our Gen Xers, which I am on the right on the cusp of that. So you can guess whether I'm either close to 38 or close to 56. I'll leave that for you guys. But again, now broadcast, you see bumping up high. Radio, where you're saying, why are people listening to radio? They're not driving to work. They're not doing that. So it also proves that, some of these outlets are seeing a little bit of resurgence in their popularity and their usage. During the pandemic, we had a couple of the local radio stations, do some food bank things, do some homeless things, do some for animal shelters. There was a lot of different things that the radio stations did during that period of time, and the response was ridiculous. It was most of our clients at that point were just, I think, putting dollars to help support the cause. We really never anticipated that we would see response from these types of things, but they were overwhelming in terms of how many people were engaging on those platforms. And then you go again, streaming online and music streaming for our Gen Xers.
And I'll just add to that, people were home, locked down, but still wanting to do things, work somehow. So whether they were working around the house, coming up with new recipes in the kitchen, they had the radio on, they had these different outlets on, streaming music, streaming TV on while they were doing something while at home.
Yep. And then we get to the boomers. If we have any in here, you're probably tired of hearing "okay, boomer," as my kids throw me in a boomer crowd if I say something that they consider boomer related. But when you see this, broadcast TV, streaming, radio, and online press being the other ones, and so probably no shock there, but these are increases. And to be honest with you, we don't anticipate to see these numbers change. I told this, I was given a presentation the other day. It was about a week ago. I came home, I was out, and I was laying in bed, and I picked up my Xfinity remote where it's voice activated. And I said, Padres versus Dodgers. And I was like, what in the hell has happened to me that it's 10:30 at night and I'm actually interested in the Padres versus the Dodgers playoff game to watch. And again, not a whole lot in terms of news. And it's in new stuff coming out. And it was live. It's baseball. It was something that we haven't had in a while. So we're seeing the same for all the sports things. For football, we just saw the NBA finish and getting ready to start back up in a little bit. We saw hockey finish, not to the standards that we wanted here in Pittsburgh. So and we don't anticipate when they come back for next season, whenever next season is for them. We don't anticipate to see a change in people being in the arenas and how they're going to portray this messaging to us. So these numbers and these increases, I don't anticipate for the next 6 to 9 months to change. If anything, go up.
Yeah, I think human behavior, they'll still get into these avenues or these lanes of media consumption and stay there. It just, and we notice on the boomers, they didn't move much at all on most of their media consumption. It was just, some of these hikes in these particular arenas,
Yep.
we saw a jump. But for the most part, they do their
Yep.
daily routines.
For sure.
We all know. So.
And these are shifts, and these are increases, obviously, with the plus in front of them, but video shifts. So streaming TV and online videos, again, the on-demand, the people working from home, the walking down the hallway to somebody else's office to kind of I always say to clear out the cobwebs, depending on what you're doing, that doesn't exist. You walk from your basement up to your kitchen, or you bother your spouse. That's kind of the only reprieve that a lot of folks have to clear out the cobwebs, while they're working. We also notice people are starting earlier and ending later, and probably taking bigger and longer breaks within the middle of the day. And what we're seeing is it is a lot with streaming video, that's their reprieve, that's their 10-minute break, that's their walk around the block. That's, you know, their chit chat that they used to do at the office, because they don't have that, you know, have that ability to be able to do it, which I found this a little surprising because we're doing this, you know. I mean, when I get off these Zoom calls, the last thing I want to do is sit down and watch more video. Now, again, we are an agency and we do a lot of this, but I know we're not alone. So, so these numbers were kind of the ones that surprised me a little bit, but it also made me know that that's how people are consuming.
Well, this is also off of the, you know, shrinking household budgets, or they froze their budgets and they got rid of some of the traditional means going to their house, like cable televisions. We saw a lot of cord cutters bump up, and so these are, I know here at the agency we do a lot of work with connected TV and OTT, and you know, some of those channels that really shine are like Pluto TV, which is free, Zumo, which is free, free television, free live television, and then Tubi and things like that. So there's a lot of channels and a lot of networks that have shown a spike in these things.
Sure. So we'll go on again, same thing. I'm not going to bore you, go through each one, but you'll see audio shifts from streaming music to radio to podcasts. I was never a podcast guy, just because I was like, where the heck am I going to fit this into my day? You know, I started doing a morning walk routine, you know, since I don't necessarily have to be as primp and ready to go for the day as maybe I normally did. So I started adding a couple podcasts to listen to on my daily walk, you know, which I know you can see I'm not alone. I don't know, Chad, you want to keep rolling? Yeah. This is a big one, and we'll talk about this and we'll save it for the Q&A. The email and social media marketing shifts. The email marketing is up 1,000%. And this falls back into, do you have an online and digital strategy, whether it be, even if it's not e-commerce, but just to communicate, you know, and email marketing to keep your name and mug in front of people is even now more critical. And that's what folks are doing. There isn't any one new client that we have spoken to in the last 6 months that we haven't led with an email marketing campaign, with a lot of success. And we won't have enough time to cover it today, but maybe if any of you want to reach out offline, and we're big fans of it because it's a curator of content. And what I mean by that is, by putting an email campaign together, it forces you to take your content and start bucketing it into the different, I would say, avenues that you want to market and promote yourself. And you're just repurposing that content on your social media platforms. And the email campaign is one of two things. It's telling everybody, here's what we have coming up, or it's letting people know, here's what we did. In 321 Blink's world, we do a monthly e-blast to our customer base, and it's pretty much a repurposing of, hey, here's everything that we did cool this last month. If you're in the retail or service industry and you're using it as an outreach, it's like, hey, here's stuff that we have coming up. Would you like to be part of it? And that hasn't changed from pre-pandemic phases, but right now, because people are attached to their machines and that's how they're consuming, because they have to find ways to get information and make an educated decision. And the email campaign is definitely clearly one that is top of the heap.
And we see a lot of engagement with these two platforms because of the immediacy. So if they get delivered a message through email, or they see something through their social media channels, they have a button that they can immediately click and go to the website. And either if you have a product that you need to sell, or if you've got a service that you need to sell, it leads them straight to that page that you want them to, you know, click on and say, buy now, shop now, click, learn more, whatever. It has that immediacy. So we see a lot of engagement with these two platforms.
Yep, for sure.
And it allows you to track their behaviors, like email marketing, social media marketing. You start compiling how people interact with your ads too, and that gives you a lot of data in not only with the past of what's working and what's not working, but it gives you a future of what future trends on how you deliver messages later on. So
Yeah. And then we get into this, the biggest thing is highly trackable and data. I always say what I love, I've been doing this for 30 years. And I say the first 27 years, I could write what I learned on the back of a business card. I mean, it really wasn't heavy lifting. I mean, it was buying media, placing media, and being creative. The last 3 years is like a novel. Things change. This presentation that we're showing today, all I would ask is, you burn it in about 4 months, because virtually everything that we have in here will be dated and obsolete. So it's just changing. So for us to get data and and have everything trackable, we learn more, we adjust. We take the things that we learn from our digital and email and social campaigns, and it makes us smarter traditional marketers. What you put in your radio content and put in your broadcast content and put on your outdoor, which we're big fans of all those. We do all, traditional media. We take the data that we learn from our email campaign on the open rates and who's looking at it and what words are making people react to something better. And that's what we're putting on our traditional media.
And you can retarget these
Absolutely
too. That's important to note too. You can keep delivering that same message to them, so because you won't get them the first time, so you can hit them again and again and again.
Absolutely.
So does your customers want to hear from you? All this data, all the media, they're waiting for you. They're sitting there consuming all this stuff. They're waiting to hear from brands that they like, things that they follow, and sure, I mean, now's the right time to hit them with a message.
Yeah, your new customers, you hear 39%, share of U.S. consumers influenced by social media ads. Whether they believe it or not, they're trolling through, I'm meaning Facebook and the other ones, they're trolling through your feed, your content, and they're delivering stuff to you from there. It's highly influential, and people are sharing, this information amongst each other in these platforms.
And I've heard anecdotally a lot of people say that they're not influenced by advertising, but that's just simply not true. And especially by these numbers of how much they're influenced by social media ads, print advertising, TV ads, radio ads. I mean, they're just bombarded with messages. I know I saw a statistic the other day, 5,000 messages throughout a single person's day. So of course we're influenced by advertising. And if you just keep at it and keep moving along, then you'll reap the rewards from it.
Again, they want to hear from you. 43% consumers say it's reassuring to hear from a brand they trust. And, and 15% say, they don't want to hear from you. And they don't, what I like about it is, from a digital perspective, if you reach out to somebody and they don't want to hear from you, they can unsubscribe. And they can disengage from you, and that's okay, because it's albeit a small cost. There's a cost to get your message in front of those people. On a broadcast perspective, you're paying to get your message in front of people, and there is waste there. So what we like about our digital campaigns is they're very targeted. And if somebody doesn't want to hear from you, it's like, fine, great, pull them off the list, and then move on, and we'll repurpose and find people where they go to that.
So we'll talk a little bit about what to say and how to say it to people. I think that what we've learned out of the pandemic, some of the brands, it's a tiered, companies work it out as a tiered. You got your brand messaging, you got maybe promotional messaging, and then communal messaging. And a lot of people forgot to wrap their arms around some of these things. So there was 25,000 people polled, I think, and out of the respondents, they said brands should explain how they're being helpful in the community. Tim just mentioned a few of our clients set up food bank distributing places in their parking lots. So there's things that you can say from a community standpoint, that how you're helping your your neighbors, your people in or in your region, your customers, and they really like that. They really like to hear from you about that stuff.
Yeah, and there's a fine balance of, look at me, here's what we're doing, versus letting people know, hey, listen, if you do shop at our place, we also are giving back to our community. And then how you communicate that and how you do that, because if that's a choice, number one, if you're coming in and you're taking some of your resources and giving it back, and maybe one of the competitors aren't, that's still better for the community. And if that is going to be the thing that makes the decision for someone, then I think there's a tone and a way to let them know that, versus, right, just telling every time that you do something out there. And that's a part I want to say we struggle with, of trying to find that balance. That is definitely something that that we make sure we're keeping that tone and messaging at a place where we feel comfortable with it, and our clients are comfortable with it, that it doesn't sound like bragging and boasting, but also saying, and it can be inspirational to let somebody sees you doing something, maybe they're like, hey, it's not a bad idea, I could do that.
And then this is just 75% of brands should inform their audiences of how they're dealing with the pandemic, what their efforts are while they're in store, if they're coming out to the store, or if say a casino, what have they done to keep people safe, keep social distancing? How can they still be a gamer in the pandemic? So you need to put out those types of messages as well. Along with this, like Tim was saying, don't over exploit the coronavirus. As 75% say that they do not want price gouging, whether it comes down to that, or just taking advantage of the situation and beating your chest about what you're doing is a little much.
Exactly, and it's a fine balance. And then this is just we'll fly through these. We have some protocol that we have learned when we go on our on location video production shoots, some practices and procedures, whether you're hiring a video production company or having somebody come in. These are some things that you should ask of them to make sure.
Yeah, these are ads that
not these, but when we get to it next. So.
Yeah, these are ads that I just chose that I thought we thought that were good examples of how brands are breaking down their messages. This one's, of course, an example of informational by Mucinex. They just said spread facts, not fear, and just went over the protocols of social distancing, washing hands, and keeping your fingers from your face. We thought it was a good example of how they were reminding people how to maneuver through the pandemic. Yeah, this was a phenomenal commercial from Cottonelle. So it seemed to be a different tier of advertising coming from different brands. You had informative that we saw before. This is more communal, trying to say, please people, be generous to each other, be kind, and we're a brand that stands behind that. I throw in Ryan.
Sorry, I jumped ahead, Chad. I was thinking we were on next to the other things. Go ahead, my bad.
That's all right. Throw on Ryan Reynolds. He did a good job of promoting his products with Avion Gin, which was reminding that what they were doing with donating $1 million between Feeding America and Food Banks of Canada during this time. And that's another communal message. He also has the Mint Mobile, where they gave free high-speed data plans to Canadians who have access to Mint Mobile through I guess it was from I think it was around March, beginning of March through middle of April.
Right.
And then And then this was, I included this IKEA example because it just reminded people of the products that they have along with the pandemic. So this is a nice spot for that.
Yo soy tu hogar. Y voy a estar para ti, aguantando todo lo que venga.
So of course it's about, you know, reminding them that they do have products to sell. They do have things that you need to come get, and while we're all stuck at home and you're looking at things at your home, why not buy some things to improve on it? So now that all brings us to digital channels. So during this pandemic, what have we learned? What have we learned through this? If we've got to, you know, do things virtually, if we've got to stay at home, and this could be a reality too that we may head into again, are your channels set up to do the things that you need to do? Because we all need to sell products, we all need to sell services, we all need to advertise our companies. So you need to take, you know, kind of inventory about what you have in your toolbox to be able to do those things at the end of the day. It's all about revenue. It's all about the bottom line. So review your website, make sure it's up to date, make sure it can handle some things that you need to handle if we are stuck at home again, if we have to, you know, everybody's hurting. We know restaurants, 1/4% capacity, 0.5% capacity. Now some of them are open up. We've seen that industry kind of hurt. We've seen the movie theater industry hurt. So what can you do to manage that now off of these lessons learned that we've had? Go online to your digital channels, whether it be Google My Business, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, with the TikTok even. I mean, verify the business info. Make sure that the name URL all matches up to, you know, your home, your website. It all directs to your website. Do things, if we can do things virtually as much as possible, make sure it directs that way. Make sure you have the correct keywords and phrases on those pages. Map info is a big one. I mean, if they're going out, they're venturing out and going to come to your store, you want to make sure that they can find a restaurant, whatever, casino. And then delete old info. Get rid of any photos that are, you know, just old. You don't offer these things, and upload the new stuff. It's all about taking that inventory while you have it now, and you take that time to dress these channels up. And then, you know, I always say start with the Google My Business and sort of cascade it down from that. So.
And I'm sorry, and this is what I had mentioned before, what I thought we were leading into, some safety protocols while on location. These, you know, we can blow through these, but we want to leave a couple minutes for some question and answer. So safety protocols on location, obviously wash your hands. And we just put, you know, social distancing, you know, mask, clean and disinfect, and just prepare. Have these things in their own little packets. You know, we went on a shoot and we had, you know, little hand sanitizers and wipes and everything, and we put them in baggies, and we had 25 baggies. So people weren't, you know, congregating it around, and everybody could have their own. So, you know, wipe down all surfaces, stuff in between things, just so you know. And I'm not saying this because we own a production company, albeit things are much more. Before we'd bring 15 people on a crew, you know, now we're bringing 5, and it's taken longer, and it costs just as much money, if not more, because it's a heck of a lot harder to do things during these times with less people. So if you come across anybody saying there's no discount or no break or no anything, you obviously understand why. It's a lot harder to do less during these times. And, you know, when we're saying prepare for another shutdown, it's not that we think something's going to happen, but there are things that can happen that you can do today, whether it be grabbing footage or photographs or messaging or things that you can put together, knowing that if you would have known that your business was going to be shut down, would you have said, I wish I would have known this? And those things could be different for everybody. So, online shopping, your Google Places. I don't know how many times I go to somebody's Google Places page and the page isn't even claimed by the business. So these are little things that you can go in so you can make these changes. That it's going to be difficult to do because call centers, you're trying to call Google, which is tough to do anytime. You're trying to call Google during, a pandemic. Their call centers are half capacity and people working from home. It's tough to get things done. So make sure you're all buttoned up during that time frame or during this time frame now.
Yeah, and I'll just say, set aside a budget too. I mean, just think about those things later on. What will I scale down to? Go ahead and have that plan already in place. Plan in advance. I mean, now's the time to do it. We've all seen how we all got caught off guard during this pandemic, and some businesses may not come back from it. So we don't want to see that happen. We don't want to get caught off guard again. So we just say plan ahead and set those budgets aside, and then reach out to people like our agency. We can help. Others can help. I mean, professionals will help you maneuver through and find those avenues that are cost effective and won't break the bank, but will still continually get your message out there and get your company out there to the target audiences.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of using my own personal experiences when it comes to how somebody should market and promote their business. But I've been traveling back. My mother's 90 years old. I've been traveling back to see her once a month just to spend some more time with her and help through the house. And when we go back, my brother lives next door. We're ordering food. We're trying to do things, and it is clearly a decision maker of how we think people are preparing and what they're doing behind the scenes from their online presence. If we're saying, hey, we wanted to go to the Ale House and, my sister-in-law wanted wings. We went to their Facebook page and other stuff. Their hours weren't updated. I mean, these are simple things. And it's the connotation of that they're not prepared. And if they're not prepared for it, I can't imagine that their wings are going to be any better during this period of time. And they're the decisions that we were making. As silly as a stretch as it may be, but we moved on to the next. And somebody who we said, oh, they're open today, their hours are right. We called the number, somebody answered, and that was just from their online presence, and they got the business. So whether you be in the service industry or the food industry or retail, you have to make sure that these things, your online presence from your social media platforms to your website to your Google Places page, are up to date and accurate, and you have the logins and all that information, because you need to update it and change it as things change. So that's my last soapbox. So that's it. Hopefully we have a couple minutes, about 5-10 minutes or so for any questions. If anybody has any. We saw something in the chat. Yes, we'll give everybody, that's why we didn't stay, heavy on some of the protocols for, the video production and or statistics, because we'll give everybody a copy of the presentation, or the chamber will put it on their website somehow for you guys to get it. Not a problem at all. So that's it for us. Do we have any questions, comments? We're happy to chat. You feel free, Susan or Michelle, to pass out Chad's information, our information. If somebody wants to talk offline, if they have questions, we're happy to, to point them in the right direction and guide them through any of the questions that they have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tim and Chad. We really appreciate it. So now's your opportunity. You've got them right here.
We've got their attention. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the Q&A box there, and we can get those answered for you directly. Their contact information is up there on the screen as well. And as was mentioned, you will get this presentation, so you could always reach out to them later. I know if I could just share as the chamber, if there is one great takeaway of this, it is keeping your information updated. I was in advertising for many years, and that is the most frustrating thing for me when I go onto a website or a Facebook page, and like you said, things are not up to date, and it's very frustrating because especially if you drive there and then their hours changed or something like that. So, and for those of you who are chamber members, you are listed in our online chamber directory. And guess what? That gets a lot of, it ranks those Google searches just because you have that listing on there. So you also want to make sure that's up to date. So again, any other organizations that you're tied in with and you have those opportunities, that's part of your membership, keep that up to date as well. People do refer to our website as well for your business information. Sometimes before they even look at your website, they might go to your website from our site. So you want to make sure that's up to date. So that's a really, that's a huge takeaway. So I'm not seeing any questions.
No, just a lot of love, which we'll take that as well. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm glad people found the information helpful and beneficial. So.
Yes, so thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. Thank you, Tim and Chad, for sharing these valuable tips. And for those of you who registered, reminder, you will get the PowerPoint today in an email. We'll notify you also when this recorded webinar is on our website. We're working on getting those all uploaded. We also want to thank Pittsburgh Networks for sponsoring our Business Solutions webinar series. And I just want to remind you to check out our website. Join us next Wednesday, October 21st at 10 a.m. for our next Business Solutions webinar, Accounting Tips for Business Owners, how to record your PPP loans in accordance with GAAP. So please get that information out to any businesses that you know that have applied for the PPP loan, that have been taking advantage of that, because there's going to be some work that needs to be done on all of our parts, and none of us know what all that is. So you'll find all those details on our registration on our website. All right, all have a productive rest of your day.
All right, thanks.